Hello everyone, so in today's video we're going to be using Ghidra again, this time to binary patch a C++ program with a conditional statement. So in the previous video we kind of went over how to patch out a program by replacing a string to generate a different output. But in this time we're going to work with a conditional, so we're going to have to work with jumping and branching in assembly. So here's the program in question. We are basically going to check if a value is equal to a certain integer, and we're going to print out one string if it is, and then else we'll print out a different string. So if our value x equals 1967, we see out Mustang, else we see out Ford, and then we return 0. So I already have the program compiled and loaded up, so before we jump into Ghidra, I'll just build it and show you the output from console. So let's see into there. And it prints out Mustang as expected because we have x equal to 1967, and if x is equal to 1967 we see out Mustang. So that's the program. I already have it loaded up in Ghidra, so the first thing we're going to want to do is, since we already know the integer 1967 is like our magic number that we're going to compare against, we're going to want to find that instead of trying to look for the string, because we're not replacing the string, we are going to actually patch out that instruction. So we're going to want to search in memory. We're going to set it to decimal 1967. Okay, we found out the instruction. So the way this plays out in assembly is the if-else is actually a conditional jump. So if we compare the two values, so we're going to move our value into memory, our pointer towards x, which is set to 1967. We're going to run a compare against it. So we're going to compare that pointer to the hexadecimal value of 1967, which is 0x7af. Based on that, we're going to do a jump if not 0. So we have a counter to check if the comparison generated 0. So if x is not equal to 1967, this jump will execute to label 0000712, and then if not, we're going to load an address and then move it, and then we're going to call, and then we're going to actually print out, Mustang in that case. If not, we're going to actually print out Ford. So what we can do is we can try to switch the if-else. So meaning that if it's equal to 1967, instead of printing Ford, instead of printing Mustang, we can print Ford. So we're effectively going to switch this. The easiest way to do this is, instead of switching out the labels, we can actually change the conditional statement. So instead of doing a jump not 0, we can do a jump if 0. So we're going to want to patch out this instruction. So you're going to want to right click, and we're going to patch instruction. We're going to say OK. It's going to construct the assembler. Give it a second. Alright, so now it gives us the opportunity to edit the actual label or edit the mnemonic. So we're going to actually edit the mnemonic. So instead of a jump not 0, we would just do a jump 0, which is the opposite in assembly. So now we're going to save the program, save the project, and now we're going to actually export the program. So let's give it a binary output to desktop. We'll call it conditional patched, and we're going to hit OK. So I'm going to hit OK. And one thing I didn't show last time is, even though it becomes .exe.bin, you can actually rename it to just .exe, and it'll still work. We'll say yes. Alright, so now we're going to cd desktop, and we're going to conditional patched.exe, and as you can see, it now prints out Ford, versus if we run it from here again, so you guys can remember. prints out Mustang. So that's one of the ways we can patch something out. Again, this is like a super basic example because we already know the value, we know what we want to do, we just want to switch the output and the if else. So this will effectively work in any case where you just want to switch what's inside the if else body just by switching out the actual uh, conditional jump statement. Now you could also jump to a different label, but you actually need to either create a new label for it in memory, so you need to make sure you have the correct address and everything, or you can actually try to edit out what's already in the label. So there's quite a bit of stuff that's actually going on inside. It's going to load the address, it's going to move the pointer, and then it's actually going to call another function. And then finally, depending on whether or not that conditional is met, it's actually going to finalize and then return. So this label gets called at like the end of the procedure because it's going to pop it and then it's going to do a return. So that's just a quick intro on how to patch out a simple, conditional jump, which is an if-else in the C++ program. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys were able to learn something, and I'll see you guys in the next one.